What is up everyone, Movie back again with another video. And today it's going to be my best and worst of 2023 so far. Now we are just past halfway across the year and I've seen a lot of YouTubers doing this, so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do my version of it. I thought it'd be a fun little video to make. I'm only going to speak about the top 5 best and the top 5 worst so far. Now 2023 up to now has been a little bit of an up and down year. I don't think there's as many bad movies as compared to last year, but I don't think there's as many great ones either. Last year was so many great films, but so many terrible ones. I couldn't believe some of the crap Netflix were churning out, but we got so many brilliant films like RRR, Top Gun Maverick, The Batman. You know, they are top tier movies. This year, I think it's been a very middle ground. Apart from these top 5 I'm going to speak about, I mean, they are the best of the best, in my opinion, but there's been some very 7, 8 out of 10 films, you know, at best, like The Flash, Indiana Jones and stuff. These big blockbusters, they're just turning out to be okay for me. Now, don't get me wrong, my list is a little bit different to a lot of other people's, my top 5 and bottom 5. I can see this being a little bit controversial, but I will never ever lie to myself or to you about my feelings of movies. I can only give my honest opinion, and I'm not going to put something at the top or near the top just because everyone else has. For example, John Wick Chapter 4 is 6th in my top 10. I don't have it in the top 5, but a lot of people have it in the top 3 even. And there may be movies in that top 5 where people are going, has he really put that above John Wick 5? But it's just the way I see the movie. So without further ado, let's just get into it now with the 5th best film of the year so far. Number 5 is actually Evil Dead Rise. I watched all 4 of the Evil Dead movies going into this one, and I do think it's one of the strongest horror franchises out there. Not one that I rewatch a lot, but in terms of quality, I do think all these movies are good to brilliant, you know, on that level there. And Evil Dead Rise was somewhere in the middle of that Evil Dead ranking, if you like. This one was coming away from the cabin feel and going into the city, and that instantly filled me with anticipation, if you like, because I thought, oh, this sounds like they're going to go in a totally different direction here, and for the most part, they did. I think the whole building aspect could have been utilised a little bit better, but I'm glad in the 3rd act they kind of pick that up. But basically, this sees this family who come across the Book of the Dead who live in this apartment block, and the mother, as you may know from the trailers and the movie poster, turns into this demonite and tries to start killing the family, basically. And I thought Alicia Sutherland, who played her, was absolutely terrifying. She's one of the more iconic movie characters of 2023, if you like. And I liked how this family were all holed up in this apartment block while she's outside trying to get in. And it kind of brought that cabin isolation feel to the apartment block, basically. But there was so many great directional moments here. Like, I really liked where this young girl was looking out of a peephole and Alicia Sutherland's demonic character is outside there trying to get in, and there's a little bit of blood on the peephole and stuff, and all stuff's happening and you see it through the peephole. So that was great. You know, some really creepy moments. Great characters in here. A lot of people have said that they didn't care too much for the family members, but I actually got on board with them. We've got a great final girl in there, someone you can really get behind. And in the 3rd act, there was something I really didn't see coming that they haven't really done with the demonites before, which kind of threw me off. And we've got all them Evil Dead tropes in there. The chainsaw, the blood on the face, the whole gore aspect. Same type of concept, really, with the Evil Dead book and the record getting played backwards and stuff. There was a few problems with the writing, I suppose. It's all very conveniently placed for it to be set up. Like, the guy who spins the disc backwards is an upcoming DJ, so of course he's going to do that. You know, it just happened to fall into his hands. But overall, I really enjoyed this, and it was my 2nd favourite horror of the year. There is another one in here, which I'll speak about in a minute, but I really enjoyed it, and it continues the quality of the Evil Dead franchise. So number 5 is Evil Dead Rise. Number 4 is going to be Super Mario Brothers. Now, I am a massive video gamer, and Mario is a character I have grew up with so much in my life. I love Mario Odyssey. I played it on the NES, on the SNES, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario All-Stars. You know, he's just a great gaming character, and his quality of games definitely were far better than the movie we got in the 90s there. And Nintendo have always had to rectify that, in my opinion, and I'm glad they've finally done it, because they knocked it out the park here with one of the best video game adaptations I have seen yet. It's definitely in the top 3, I feel, because video game adaptations get a bad rep, but hopefully this is the one to kick them on and start making some quality video game adaptation movies, because the storylines are all there, and this isn't even the best story to work off, but Nintendo totally made it work here with Illumination Pictures. The animation is top tier quality, the voice acting is on point. A lot of people were had their reservations about Chris Pratt and stuff, but he done a great job, in my opinion, as did everyone else. Jack Black kind of stole the show as Bowser here. Peaches, peaches, peaches. What a great song. But it just basically follows Mario trying to save the princess and the Mushroom Kingdom and stuff. And I had a great time with it. I liked the way it was a movie made for kids, but there was plenty of stuff for the adults in there. I found that balance between getting the humor right for the kids, but also, letting the adults get in on the jokes that we may understand a little bit more, and giving them video game throwbacks. It was just a joy to watch on screen, and I can't wait to get this on 4K and watch it on my brand new OLED TV, because the film just looked absolutely gorgeous. I especially loved that moment where Mario had to run through the stages and try and master it like Princess Peach already had. Just a real big throwback to the games there. So I also love the way they threw bits of Mario Kart in there, a little bit of Luigi's Mansion and stuff. It just totally worked, and we definitely need a sequel to this now, because it has just blew up at the box office, and I'm so happy for it. So yeah, number 4 is Super Mario Brothers. Number 3 is going to be a little bit of a surprise to you all, and some of you may even turn the video off here, but in number 3 I've got Fast X. Yes, above John Wick 4 there. Now, I was on a bit of a hype train with this franchise. Me and my wife decided to watch all of these, because I had only ever seen the first one. I used to rewatch it constantly back on DVD back in the day, and I bought the 4K box set along with Part 9 and Hobbs and Shaw separately there, so I had them all ready to go. And my wife always falls asleep during movies and stuff, but she actually sat there and watched all of these movies with me, and we had a total blast with them. They were just so much fun, and especially parts 5, 6, and 7 there, right in the prime. We just had a blast with all these movies. We had such a good time. Even the ones that we didn't really think were stronger, we still had a good time with them. So going into this one, we were very excited. We hadn't seen a Fast and Furious movie on the cinema yet. We booked this in iSense, and from start to finish, I just had a great time with it. It was a lot like a lot of the other Fast and Furious films, probably not as too over the top compared to Fast and Furious 9, but what really made this movie stand out for me was Jason Momoa as the villain. He is by far the best villain we have had in this franchise. He was kind of like a Joker character from Batman, just doing all these little setups and ways to get his terrorism across the city and stuff like that. He's hell-bent on revenge on Dom for killing his father in the 5th movie and stuff. And it all just was so much fun. There's so many great chase sequences. The one throughout the city where I think it's a big bomb is going and rolling down in the middle of Rome. It's just so fun to watch. One of my favorite stunts that I've seen in these movies was when Michelle Rodriguez was chasing Jason Momoa, and he kind of cut this big steel bar in this alleyway, and they're both on motorbikes, and you think Michelle Rodriguez is just going to hit this metal bar and just go over the handlebars, but no, she does this endo and flips the bike around over the bar. I was like, holy shit, that's class. Yeah, I know it's not really a great film, but it was a really fun popcorn action flick, and me and my wife just came out and went, I had such a great time with that. And I did. Now maybe on rewatch with this and John Wick 4 they may swap. I just thought John Wick 4 was a little bit too long there, but on rewatch at home, maybe that will just jump back into my top 5. Who knows? But for now, I've got to put Fast X in there, and I will be rewatching a few of these movies before I do my entire top 10 at the end of the year. But for now, Fast X is number 3. Number 2 is going to be one of the most surprising movies of the year for me. I didn't expect it to get this high on the list when I went to see it, but I had such a fun time with this, and that is Champions, starring Woody Harrelson, who is this, I think he's in the big leagues and on the basketball in the basketball leagues, and he's like this deputy manager, if you like, this assistant manager, and I think he has a fight with someone and he gets thrown out, and his punishment, instead of going to jail, is to teach this young group of kind of, they're kind of like disabled kids who, some of them have Down syndrome and stuff like that. And he has to do community service with this team so we can go back into the big leagues once he's finished. So he's got to serve his community service by helping this team out. And he basically goes in and just says, okay, I'll get on with it. But this movie has so much heart. He kind of develops relationships with these kids. He just has such a fun time with them. There's so many great bonds with them, and some of these characters, man, who are in this team are just downright hilarious. Like I was sitting in the cinema, and the whole cinema just laughing their asses off at some of the dialogue, some of the quotes they come out with. So many great moments. I just thought it was one of the best comedies I had seen in years. Woody Harrelson, you kind of get behind them, you kind of want him to come back there, and you kind of want him to lead this team onto victory, because they're not very good, and when he actually takes them over, they start to get a little bit better and stuff like that, and some characters do actually find themselves a little bit more, and he sort of helps and spurs them on in life. It was a movie that was so funny, but full of heart, and I had a great time with it. I highly suggest you give this a go if you like your comedies, because not many comedies these days can actually make me laugh out loud, but man, this one virtually had me on the floor. I just thought it was hilarious. So that is Champions. Number one, though, is going to be a surprise to a lot of people, and it still kind of surprised myself that this is number one. However, I do think July could change that with the likes of Oppenheimer coming out and Mission Impossible 7. I mean, I'm not going to go in expecting it to go in the top 5, but you would think that they are going to be top tier movies, but we will have to wait and see. However, I still had a great time with this one, and that is Scream 6. I am a sucker for slasher movies, and I think this is quite possibly the strongest horror movie franchise. Not one that I constantly will watch like Elm Street or Child's Play, but in terms of quality, we've had 6 movies now, and 5 of them have been great, and 1 of them has been good. But I thought this was definitely one of the top end of the strongest sequels, in my opinion. And we move it all from Woodsboro to New York. Kind of like Evil Dead Rise was doing with the city apartment blocks. This one changes location as well. I do kind of wish they used that more to its advantage in the film. But when you go back and think about it, there were so many great scenes involving like ladders going across apartment blocks and people trying to escape and stuff. So it does use the city to its advantage. I don't know if it used New York too much to its advantage. But there was some really great segments as well on the subway and stuff. So we've got to give it credit for that. But this basically sees Ghostface follow our new characters to New York and terrorize them there. We've got Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega and stuff, who are likable characters to get behind. Fab 4, I think they're called in this movie now. So they've got the whole little circle going on there. We're kind of leaving the legacy characters behind. I know Neve Campbell wasn't in this film, but I did not miss her, really. I've got to be honest. But I thought Ghostface was the star of the show here. There was some great one-liners from him, some really dark humour, and some great kills. Really threw me off in the opening scene, the direction they might have went in here. Tried to shake it up a little bit, do something different. For the first hour of this movie, I was like, this is definitely up there with Scream 1 for my best horror movie in this franchise. It just had so many great moments. That moment where Ghostface has got the shotgun in the convenience store was just an amazing horror movie moment. I'm glad I didn't watch the full trailer going into this one. I just watched the teaser because that would have ruined it for me. I was at the cinema going, wow, this is brilliant. Unfortunately, the final half, or the final third act, so I say, it does go into a little bit of silly territory and the reveal is not as good. But overall, I thought this was a solid Scream sequel, and it is my favourite horror movie of the year and my favourite movie of the year so far. Can't wait to watch it again when it comes out on 4K. So yeah, number 1 is Scream 6. Getting into the top 5 worst now, we have got in 5th place, Power Rangers Once and Always. I think that's the title of it. Forgive me if it's not, I will correct it in the comments, but man, I used to love Power Rangers as a kid, and I was quite excited for this one. I've got to be honest, when I heard it was coming out, I was like, oh, I'm definitely watching that. And unfortunately, this just kind of fell flat on its face. I get what they were trying to do here. It was going to be a little bit of a revival for the fans who watched it in the 90s and stuff. But this had so many problems going for it. The acting was terrible. They only brought a couple of the Power Rangers back, mainly the Blue Ranger. And I think Zach, I can't remember which Ranger he was. They were the only two really returning characters from what I remember. It had the Yellow Ranger who died in real life. I think her daughter was coming into this and they were trying to turn her into a Power Ranger. But the dialogue just felt way off. The acting, like I said, was awful. The costume design is way too dated. And when we get Queen, Roselle is her name? I can't quite remember. I can't quite remember the main villain Queen's name in this. I'm very sorry, but man, she was just screaming all the way through it, going, Power Rangers, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna kill you all, ha! But it was just constant throughout this almost hour runtime. The only great bit that really broke anything back for me was when they kind of transformed into these big, creatures. It's been a long time since I watched the TV show. I'm really sorry, but where they go saber-toothed tiger and stuff, and the music come on, the music is still kick ass. But overall, I just thought this was very, very poor, and no thought had gone into it at all, really. And it just felt like a little bit of a kind of cash grab for fans of the series from years ago. Just go, oh yeah, we'll just make it half-assed and throw it on Netflix there. So unfortunately, not a very good time, and it didn't rekindle my love for Power Rangers. So that is Power Rangers once and for all. I think that's the name. I'm sorry. Number 4, we have The Pope's Exorcist starring Russell Crowe. Now, I've got to admit, going into this, I wasn't too excited because demonic possession and exorcism movies and stuff, they're not really my favorite horror subgenre. I will watch them, obviously. I do get a kick out of some of them, but I always expect the same type of thing going in, and that's exactly what this was. In fact, it was a blatant rip-off of The Exorcist, which I get when people say, well, how are you meant to do it without ripping off The Exorcist? But it just follows so many of them tropes. It borrows so much from it. Like, we've got the two popes trying to exorcise this boy, and when the demon's in this boy, he'll go over the priest's past and what he's been up to and stuff. There's just a lot of shouting from this young possessed boy that was just really grating on me. And in the end, I just really didn't care what happened. Russell Crowe is the only redeeming factor about this movie. I don't even think he's one of my favourite actors or anything, to be honest, but he was definitely a good character in this. He had a personality to him. I like the way he rode around the whole of Europe on his little motorbike there, his little scooter, sorry. And he saved the movie, if there was anything salvageable, if you like. But in the end, this was just a lot of shouting from a young child with the CGI face, and yeah, it just really didn't do nothing for me, unfortunately. Hoping The Exorcist that we get in October is going to be way better than this, but we will have to wait and see. So 4th place is The Pope's Exorcist. Coming up in 3rd place is going to be Asteroid City. I am very, very sorry about this, Wes Anderson fans, but sometimes for me, a boring movie is worse than a bad movie, and I was absolutely just bored to tears watching this film. It just wasn't working for me. I get this is to an acquired taste, and people who like Wes Anderson and his style, I get it, okay? I liked the Grand Budapest Hotel. Wasn't too fussed on the Fantastic Mr. Fox, thought it was okay. Did not like The French Dispatch, and I did not like that. They're the only 4 Wes Anderson movies I've seen. It has not put me off going to watch his older stuff, but I'm not going to be rushing out for his next movie, put it that way, because I've heard some of his older stuff is really good. But this basically was just about a group of people who were interested in astronomy or something coming to this one city, but it was all done like a play, and I couldn't really care for any of the characters because I knew they were doing a play within the movie. So I didn't really get invested too much, and it was just this really weird style that wasn't working for me at all. Now, the movie looked beautiful. It did. It was cinematography was absolutely gorgeous. I loved the colourful look of it. There were some good characters in there, even though I wasn't getting invested in them, like Scarlett Johansson's character, Tom Hanks, nice to see him in there. But I was just so bored, and I thought the story was so dull. and the quirkiness just wasn't working for me at all. There was people walking out the cinema after me, and I was overhearing them. I went on my own, but I overheard couples walking out going, "That was shit, I didn't like it." So I do feel like you have to be a hardcore Wes Anderson fan to appreciate this. My friend Sam, who loves Wes Anderson, even said to me that he didn't really like this film compared to a lot of his other ones. I really was fighting the tiredness at the end of this movie as well. I was trying my best for the last 20 minutes to stay awake there, and it is the closest I have ever come to walking out of a movie because I was just so bored. But I will never ever walk out of a film. I'll always try and pay it a little bit of respect, but I just was so close because I thought, I'm not enjoying this, I'm tired, and it's just done nothing for me this first hour and 10 minutes, and now I'm dropping off. But I stayed, I fought the tiredness, but overall, I'll probably never watch this movie again. That is Asteroid City. Number 2, from the second to worst movie I've seen so far this year, is She Came from the Woods, a summer camp 80s themed slasher film, which should tick all the boxes for me, and it just was boring me to tears. They managed to make this concept that should be so fun dull and boring. A bunch of characters I did not care about. I kind of didn't care if they lived or died. The whole look of the movie, the production value just wasn't there. It felt very low budget, and I guess that it is, but you can make low budget work. However, this just didn't look good at all. Even William Sadler, who's on the production team and stars in the movie, couldn't save it. The concept was about a curse on the camp, your usual horror trope there. It was interesting in parts, but when it was all revealed at the end, I thought the makeup design was awful. The whole last 30 minutes, I just wasn't caring. The only redeeming thing about this movie for me was a character called Dylan, who was really, really funny, and he made me laugh my ass off. However, he was a bully, he was a homophobe, he was sexist, he was just the worst type of person ever, and I couldn't get behind him. I knew he had to die, but at least he made me laugh in parts. But overall, this just wasn't a good movie at all, and it was only 1 hour and 40 minutes, and it dragged. It felt like a 2.5 hour movie to 3 hours. It just wouldn't end, and I really did not like it. Even the kills couldn't save it. They should be your strongest point of your slasher movie, but no, they were just so boring and generic. So, second from bottom is She Came from the Woods. However, in the last place, guys, it's going to be Murder Mystery 2. Wow, there was just no thought going into this one at all. I thought seeing a little bit of success with Murder Mystery 1, and a lot of people clicking it on Netflix, so Adam Sandler just went, yeah, we'll make a second one. And it's more of the same, but done worse in every single way. The first one was only an average movie anyway, but this one, it just felt like I've seen it all before, and why did you make this? Now, it's not even as funny. Like, this is a comedy movie. I did not laugh once during this film. Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler just felt like they were there to be there to make this movie and just get in and get out. There was no heart to it. I guessed the ending. I just seen it coming. The characters were boring. I just didn't find this movie engaging. I usually like murder mysteries where I can guess the end, but 1, I guessed it, and 2, I didn't really care if I was even wrong. The fun was just taken out of it. I just didn't enjoy the story. I didn't think it was done well, and it just felt very, very cheap and not even half as good as the mediocre first movie, unfortunately. I do like Adam Sandler. I like a lot of his films, like The Waterboy, Happy Gilmore and stuff. He's an actor that works for me. But here, not this time. This was definitely one of the worst movies he's done. So, the worst movie I've seen so far this year is Murder Mystery 2. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. What did you think of my top 5 and bottom 5? Leave your top 5 and bottom 5 down below. We can get a discussion going. And what do you think of my thoughts on these movies? Am I wrong to put Fast X above John Wick 4? Do let me know. Thanks so much, everyone. Please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already, if this is your type of thing. And I'll see you all on the next video. Take care.